Hi. So, does your profiler screen look like this when you log in? You have a million pop-ups. You have to minimize everything or drag everything out of the way, and it takes you 5 minutes to get it looking the way you want every time you log in. Hang in there with me and stay tuned for the rest of this video if you want to find out how to make your life easier in regards to all this mess that pops up when you log in. Okay. The first thing that we're going to do is we want to be on our main window. If you click anywhere on the large window, see, it brings it to the front. And then that makes our life a little bit easier when we're trying to work with it. So the process that we're doing right now is we are going to adjust our settings in Profiler. Okay? We do this from the tab that says View. The default tab on Profiler is the one that says Home. So you will have to click over to this one that says View. Okay, and then you have access to a whole separate menu of stuff. Okay, so we'll talk about why you might want to need some of this stuff, and why you might need some of this stuff and why you might want to hide the rest of it. Okay. Now, if you run reports, if you schedule or view appointments, you can see that you can get to these icons here. You can also get to reports from this little slash on the left. If you do not regularly do any of those tasks, there is really no reason for you to display the bottom part of this window. So that's where this little checkbox come into play. It says Show Profiler Tree. Okay, if you click the checkbox, see that whole menu goes away. Now, I regularly hide and bring this menu back depending on what my day looks like. Okay, because I know I can always easily access it. If I want to run a report, I can go to the View tab, I can click Show Profiler Tree, and I can very easily run my report. The reason you might want to hide this is that Profiler has so many screens that pop up one on top of the other that I like to streamline my screen as much as possible and get rid of as much stuff as I'm not using right at that moment. Okay, so if that's you, you can absolutely uncheck the box, hide that window, and then you can always come back and bring it up if you need it. I also like to make my icons large because it shows them in a more readable format, and Profiler by default is kind of small. Okay, so, and I don't have my glasses on today either. So I'm going to click on large icons. It makes it a lot easier to see when you're working with the list or the icons below. Okay. Now, let's check out these boxes right here, these little bubble letters. Status, bookmarks, context, workflow, and notifications. Okay. Now, I highly recommend that everyone hide the one that says workflow, which is this pop-up box here. Okay, all these little bubble letters control the boxes that pop up on the side or on top of your screen. Okay, so I'm going to click on workflow, and I can hide this by just clicking the check mark, and it goes away. When I save my profiler, and you want to save it appropriately or it will not save these settings, okay, that will not pop up the next time I log in because I've adjusted it. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the one called context. I'm going to click context, click on the check mark for visible. We don't use context at all. Okay, so you can definitely hide workflow and context. Now for bookmarks, I highly recommend that anyone who has a caseload or makes referrals, receives closures, or makes closures. So for example, if I am a supervisor and my staff close charts and they can bookmark them to me to let me know that, hey, this person is ready to be closed out of the system. They're not receiving services from us anymore. I'm going to need that bookmarks box. Okay, so when in doubt, keep that bookmarks box. Okay. If none of those situations apply to you, you can hide it if you want to, but bookmarks is one of those that can be your friend. So you want to usually want to make that still visible. Now, with my bookmarks box, and see, one of the problem with all these pop-up windows is that it makes it really hard to locate what you need because everything is stacked up on top of each other. So I can widen, expand the entire box, make it small, make it big, change it from the default setting. I can even widen the columns on the description, type, status, effective date, all those different kinds of things. If you go and hover your mouse over the little line in between the columns, you can either drag and drop them, or I can double click and it will automatically expand to however wide my description is. You have control over that stuff, so play with it a little bit, widen things out, and make it user-friendly for you. If you're not using your bookmarks box at the moment, you can always minimize it. Okay, you can't X out of it. You can only totally hide it from here. But again, I don't recommend doing that with the bookmarks box, okay? Because there's a lot of flexibility there. Now, status, I usually do not show my status bar, but I'm going to show it to you. So it says visible here. Okay, and let's see if it's minimized at the bottom. It is. It's blank. So what does status do? Status doesn't do anything until I start to run something. Let me see if I can give you a quick, oh, do you see it turned orange there? Okay, so if I click navigator and watch the status bar closely, it should turn orange. Yeah, did you see those orange bars? Status tells you if something is loading. It's the status of whatever you clicked, okay? So if I click to run a report and it's pulling kind of slowly, I can check the status box and it will tell me if it's still loading. It'll say like loading record 3 of 47 or whatever the status is, okay? So a lot of people like that. It can be very beneficial. It is also one of those things that if you keep it up and then you decide you don't want it or it's duplicating or taking up too much space on your screen, then you can always go to status and you can uncheck this box here and hide it. Okay. Notifications will say, little pop-up, you have a bookmark. Or your password is expiring. Although the password expiration for Profiler is a very quick flash. Okay, so notification is optional. You can either leave it up or click notification, uncheck visible, and it will hide. See how much more streamlined this is now that I have hidden some of that stuff out of the way. It really unclutters it for you. Now, one of the main settings that I highly recommend is to go where it says options on the far right, click ribbon. Okay. And then more options, excuse me. Hide Outlook button, because honestly this Outlook does not connect to your Outlook on the computer, so the Profiler Outlook we're not using right now. Okay, then the tab called List/Combos. Now what this does is it puts your releases, your all of your forms, UDDs, and in even different places where things show up in code. The default is to pull it up by code. And I don't know about you, but when I'm looking for something on an individual, I am not looking it up by Form 47. I want to know it's called Release of Information for Primary Care Doctor. Okay, so in order to make those forms appear in alphabetical order, that's a setting. So you click on the down arrow, and I always select full name, but you can select any of these that have the full name in front. I just like to leave mine at full name because I'm always looking for things in alphabetical order, and this way I can set it by alphabetical order. So highly, highly recommend that. Then you click OK at the bottom. Okay. So the only other setting that could be useful to you or is optional, depending on what your job is, because a lot of this stuff is based off of what you do, is I have little shortcuts here at the very top left for appointments and my appointments. So I could very quickly click on appointments and it loads the appointment screen right up. Okay. I'm going to close it here. Okay. In order to get those on my screen, there is a little, you see this where it's a down arrow pointing, and when I hover over it, it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar. So if I click on that and select More Commands, I can select the drop-down menu, and based off of which column I select, I get different options. The appointments options are under form to add. Nope, just kidding. Form to open. So if I'm going to click on form to open, and then I can select appointments, and then this add will show up in the middle. Then I can click that and put it over to the right. So let me choose one that I don't already have. And I will be able to show it to you that way. So if you click on one, see where it says add here? I click add, it will come over there. Okay, you add as many as you want, and you can check out what's in these fields as well. Okay, depending on what your job is, really the only ones that we regularly use as shortcuts are appointments and my appointments. Okay, but you can play around with that a little bit if you want. Personalize it to you. Then you select whatever you need there and you hit close. And I selected authorizations, and now it's added to the top of my bar. Okay. One last thing before I let you go. Okay, none of this will save, and I'll have to redo it all over again the next time I log in if I don't log out properly and allow it to save. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to save by going to the globe in the upper left hand corner of the ribbon. Okay, so of that blue bar. You want to click the globe and exit Profiler. It's real simple, but you would be surprised how many people just exit out. And see how it said saving your personal settings? That is the key to making all of this stick. And that way, the next time I log in, and I'll show you, I'm going to click, I'm going to go into my training account because that's where I was before, and okay. Only my bookmarks box pops up, and it's already expanded just the way I like it. None of that other stuff pops up, and I've got everything saved that I want. I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment, shoot me an email. I would be happy to help you and make sure that this is exactly the way you want it. Thanks again. Have a great day.